The vanishing commander, Dex, adjusted his optical sensors as he reviewed the morning reports aboard the observation station. Eternal Watch. The massive facility orbited the neutral zone between 17 different star systems, serving as the galaxy's primary monitoring post. For 30 years, Dex had tracked the movements of countless species across known space, but today's readings made his 4 hearts skip in unison. Every human signature had vanished. The Chronal Commander's tentacles trembled as he cross-referenced the data 3 times. Human colonies, research stations, military vessels, trade ships, and diplomatic outposts had all gone silent at precisely 0347 Galactic Standard Time. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply empty. 62 billion humans across 400 worlds had disappeared without a trace. Dex immediately contacted the Galactic Council emergency line. Within hours, representatives from 23 species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The chamber buzzed with the various forms of communication used across the galaxy. The crystalline chimes of the Syrians, the electromagnetic pulses of the Voltax, and the chemical signals of the insectoid Hyvax. Chancellor Drex of the Malaxi Federation called for order, his massive frame casting shadows across the assembly floor. His voice boomed through the translation matrix. Fellow beings, we face an unprecedented situation. Humanity has vanished from known space. The reaction was immediate and surprising. Instead of concern, cheers erupted from multiple delegations. Admiral Korth of the Hegemony War Council slammed his armored fist on his platform. Finally, the galaxy is free from their meddling ways. No more human interference in our territorial disputes. Trade Minister Velox of the Commerce Guilds, scales shimmered with delight. Our profit margins will increase by 30% without human price manipulation. They always undercut our established rates. Professor Syntac of the Academic Collective's mechanical voice crackled through the speakers. Their primitive scientific methods held back galactic progress for decades. We can finally pursue proper research without their emotional objections. Only a few voices expressed caution. Dr. Merrick's, an elderly seeker, raised her crystalline appendage. Has anyone investigated how they disappeared? 62 billion beings do not simply vanish. This suggests technology beyond our understanding. The celebration drowned out her concerns. Within days, species began claiming former human territories. The Malaxi took the agricultural worlds that had fed billions. The Voltax seized the energy production facilities. The Hyvax claimed the manufacturing centers that had produced everything from medical supplies to starship components. Meanwhile, deep in space, maintenance engineer Zara worked frantically in the bowels of Harmony Station, the galaxy's largest communication hub. The Kethri technician's 6 arms moved independently as she tried to diagnose the growing number of system failures plaguing the massive facility. Run Diagnostic Protocol 7 again, she instructed her assistant, a young Cronel named Plex. Same results, Plex reported, his voice tight with worry. Quantum resonance chambers are showing microfractures in the containment fields. If this continues, we'll lose long-range communications within months. Zara examined the readouts with growing confusion. The station's quantum communication system had operated flawlessly for over 50 years. The technology was based on principles that the galaxy's greatest scientists barely understood, but it had never required this level of maintenance before. Check the maintenance logs, she ordered. When was the last major service? Plex's tentacles danced across the console. According to records, Human technician Sarah Chen performed routine calibrations just 3 days before the disappearance. She was scheduled to return next week for quarterly adjustments. A chill ran through Zara's electromagnetic field. Pull up Chun's maintenance procedures. The holographic display showed incredibly detailed technical specifications written in human notation. The mathematical formulas and adjustment protocols were far more complex than anything in the standard maintenance manual. Why would humans need such advanced procedures for routine maintenance? Plex wondered aloud. Zara studied the data with growing unease. Maybe it wasn't routine at all. Across the galaxy, similar discoveries were being made. On the agricultural world of Verdant Prime, the automated farming systems that had fed 3-star systems began producing strange error messages. The machines continued to function, but their output quality dropped dramatically. Crops that had been perfectly suited for dozens of different species suddenly became barely edible for most and toxic to some. Agricultural Supervisor Knox of the Herbivore Alliance scratched his horned head as he reviewed the concerning reports. The soil composition is changing, he told his team. Nutrient levels are becoming unstable. Perhaps we should contact the human agricultural specialists, suggested his deputy. There are no human agricultural specialists, Knox replied grimly. They're all gone. What they didn't realize was that Dr. Elena Martinez had spent 15 years subtly adjusting the planetary terraforming systems to maintain the delicate balance needed to feed such a diverse galactic population. Her modifications had been so gradual and seamless that other species assumed the systems were naturally perfect. In the financial district of Nexus Prime, economic analyst Quinn watched with growing alarm as market fluctuations began defying all known patterns. The synthetic beings processing cores struggled to make sense of the chaotic data streams flowing across his screens. Currency values are experiencing unprecedented volatility, he reported to the Galactic Economic Council. The Malaxi credit has lost 40% of its value in 2 days. The voltaic energy standard is fluctuating wildly. Even the Universal Trade Unit is becoming unstable. Council Chairman Vex's liquid form shimmered with concern. Run the standard stabilization algorithms. I've tried, Quinn replied. They're not working. The market correction systems appear to be based on human trading patterns that we can't replicate. Unknown to the galactic economists, commodity trader Jake Sullivan had spent decades making carefully calculated trades that prevented market crashes and currency collapses. His firm had never been the largest or most profitable, but their trades had provided crucial stability that kept the galactic economy functioning. Without their invisible hand guiding market forces, the entire financial system began to spiral toward chaos. On the remote monitoring station at the galaxy's edge, sensor operator Trill noticed something disturbing in the deep space readings. The avian being's feathers ruffled with anxiety as she studied the energy signatures appearing on the long-range scanners. "Commander," she called to her superior, "I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies in the void sector. Something is moving out there." Commander Vax glided over on his anti-gravity platform, his gaseous form condensing with worry. "Show me." The holographic display revealed dark shapes moving through empty space, each one the size of a small moon. They moved with impossible speed and purpose toward the nearest inhabited systems. According to the database, these match something called devourers in the classified human military files, Trill reported. But I can't access the full records. They're encrypted with human security protocols. Why would humans have classified files about deep space threats? Vax wondered. Neither of them realized that Admiral James Harrison had been coordinating a secret defense network for 25 years, using advanced early warning systems and containment fields to keep ancient cosmic horrors at bay. The Admiral's disappearance had left these defenses unmanned and failing as the first week after humanity's vanishing passed. The celebrating aliens began to notice small problems. Communication delays between systems increased. Food quality declined on several worlds. Financial markets showed unusual volatility. But these issues seemed minor compared to the joy of finally being free from human interference. Dr. Mirix published a research paper titled "The Vanishing," questions that demand answers, but it was largely ignored by the academic community. She had identified over 300 critical systems that humans had been involved with, from terraforming maintenance to interspecies translation protocols. Her warnings about potential cascade failures were dismissed as pessimistic speculation only. A few individuals across the galaxy shared her growing concern. Maintenance engineer Zara found herself working 16-hour shifts trying to prevent communication system failures. Agricultural supervisor Knox watched food production decline across multiple worlds. Economic analyst Quinn saw market stability crumbling despite every algorithm they tried. These scattered voices of worry were drowned out by the overwhelming celebration. The galaxy had finally achieved what many species had dreamed of for generations. A universe without human interference. The major powers could expand their territories freely. Trade could flow according to traditional patterns. Scientific research could proceed without human ethical objections. But in the quiet moments between the celebrations, sensitive instruments detected the first tremors of what was to come. Deep space monitoring stations recorded gravitational anomalies that suggested massive objects moving toward inhabited space. Agricultural sensors showed soil compositions becoming unstable across multiple worlds. Economic algorithms designed to predict market trends began producing error messages instead of forecasts. The galaxy had gotten exactly what it wanted: a universe without humans. What it was about to discover was whether it could survive what it had wished for as Commander Vex completed his final report on humanity's disappearance. He noticed an addendum in the human observation protocols that his translation software had initially missed. The note, written by human observer Captain Lisa Reeves, contained a simple message: "Some silences are louder than any noise. The absence of a guardian is felt most when the wolves arrive." Dex filed the report without understanding its meaning. Within days, he would wish he had paid more attention to human wisdom. The celebrating galaxy was about to learn that some species disappear not because they are weak, but because they choose to leave before watching others destroy themselves. And sometimes, the most important workers are the ones whose labor remains invisible until it stops. Asterisk cracks in paradise, 3 months after humanity's disappearance. The cracks in galactic civilization had widened into chasms that threatened to swallow entire star systems. What had begun as minor inconveniences now cascaded into crises that no one seemed capable of solving. Zara worked desperately in the depths of harmony, station as another quantum communication relay failed. The Ketheri engineer's 6 arms moved in perfect coordination, but her expertise felt inadequate against the mounting technological disasters. Sparks flew from damaged circuits as she tried to implement emergency repairs that were never meant to be permanent solutions. "Status report," demanded Station Commander Droth, his Malaxy bulk barely fitting through the maintenance corridor doorway. "We've lost contact with 7 more sectors. Zara replied without looking up from her work. The quantum resonance fields are collapsing faster than I can stabilize them. At this rate, we'll lose galaxy-wide communications within 6 months. Commander Droth's massive frame shifted uneasily. What do you need to fix it? I need Sarah Chen, Zara said flatly, or any human quantum engineer who understood these systems. The maintenance protocols they left behind are like reading poetry written in mathematical equations. I can follow the steps, but I don't understand the underlying principles. She gestured to a holographic display showing the intricate adjustments that human engineers had made over the decades. Look at this. They weren't just maintaining the equipment. They were continuously fine-tuning the quantum fields to compensate for gravitational fluctuations, solar, wind variations, and cosmic radiation patterns across 17 star systems simultaneously. You're saying they were performing calculations? That complex in real time? Droth asked. Every day, for 30 years, Zara confirmed, and they made it look effortless. Meanwhile, on the agricultural world of Verdant Prime, disaster was unfolding in slow motion. Supervisor Knox stood in the middle of what had once been the galaxy's most productive grain field, watching as the crops withered despite perfect weather conditions. Soil analysis complete, reported his assistant Keeler. The young herbivore's trunk twitched with anxiety. Mineral composition has shifted dramatically. Trace elements that were perfectly balanced last month are now completely out of proportion. Knox reviewed the data with growing desperation. How is this possible? The terraforming systems show all normal parameters. That's because we don't know what normal actually was, Keller realized. The human terraforming engineer, Dr. Martinez, was making constant micro-adjustments that never appeared in the standard reports. She was maintaining balance through thousands of tiny changes that we never noticed. The implications were staggering. Verdant Prime fed 37 different species across 9 star systems. Each species required different nutritional profiles, and the planet's ecosystem had been carefully orchestrated to produce crops suitable for everyone. Without Dr. Martinez's invisible hand guiding the process, the delicate balance was collapsing. Contact the Agricultural Council, Knox ordered. We need emergency food shipments from other worlds. But the Agricultural Council was dealing with similar crises across the galaxy. On Harvest Moon Beta, the atmospheric processes that maintained perfect growing conditions had begun producing toxic gases. On Greenhaven Colony, the pollination systems designed for multi-species crop compatibility were failing. On New Eden Station, the hydroponic facilities that fed the spaceborne populations were producing yields so poor that rationing had become necessary. The economic crisis was even worse. Analyst Quinn worked around the clock in the financial district of Nexus Prime, watching helplessly as the galactic economy spiraled toward complete collapse. His synthetic processors, designed to handle vast amounts of data, struggled to keep up with the chaotic market fluctuations. Universal trade credits are down 60%, he reported to an emergency session of the Economic Council. The Malaxi Federation has suspended trading with 14 species due to currency instability. The voltaic energy markets have crashed completely. Chairman Vex's liquid form churned with agitation. How did human traders prevent this level of volatility? Quinn displayed a complex holographic model showing market patterns over the past 50 years. They weren't preventing volatility. They were creating anti-volatility. Every major market swing was countered by precisely calculated trades that maintained stability. Their positions never made them wealthy, but they kept the entire system functional. Can we replicate their methods? Their trading algorithms were based on psychological profiles of every major species in the galaxy, Quinn explained. They understood how different cultures react to economic stress and positioned their trades accordingly. It would take us decades to develop that level of understanding. The crisis deepened when major trading routes began experiencing unprecedented problems. The Centauri corridor, once the busiest shipping lane in known space, had become a maze of delays and disasters. Without human navigation expertise, cargo ships found themselves lost in asteroid fields, trapped by gravitational anomalies, or damaged by hazards that human pilots had avoided effortlessly for generations. Captain Zeph of the merchant vessel Profitable Journey sent increasingly desperate messages to traffic control as his ship drifted helplessly in the asteroid belt of sorrows. Navigation computer shows safe passage, but sensors indicate massive gravitational distortions that aren't on any chart. Follow the standard navigation protocols, responded traffic controller mechs from the orbital station. The standard protocols are useless, Zeph replied. Human Captain Rodriguez always guided ships through this section personally. She knew every gravitational eddy and space-time distortion by memory. Without her knowledge, this route is a death trap. Similar problems plagued every major shipping lane. Human navigators hadn't just followed charts. They had been living libraries of spatial knowledge that took decades to accumulate. Their disappearance left gaping holes in the galaxy's transportation network. The medical crisis began quietly but spread with terrifying speed. Dr. Fricks of the Galactic Health Organization first noticed the anomaly when routine disease reports from multiple worlds showed unusual patterns. The Reguline flu has mutated beyond recognition, she reported to the Emergency Medical Council. It's jumping between species that should have natural immunity. The Andorian skin condition is affecting respiratory systems in ways we've never seen. Even common infections are becoming deadly. Medical Chief Drass leaned forward in his hoverchair. What's changed? The humans were running continuous medical monitoring programs across the galaxy, Dr. Fricks explained. They tracked disease patterns, mutation rates, and cross-species transmission vectors in real time. More importantly, they were developing countermeasures before diseases became threats. The holographic display showed the staggering scope of human medical surveillance. Dr. Sarah Kim had been coordinating with hundreds of human medical professionals across the galaxy, sharing data and developing treatments for diseases that other species didn't even know existed yet. They weren't just treating patients, Dr. Fricks continued. They were preventing plagues. Every major disease outbreak in the past 20 years was contained before it spread because humans identified and stopped it early. Without this invisible shield, diseases that had been held in check for decades began spreading unchecked. The Zephyrian wasting sickness jumped to silicon-based life forms. The crystal plague began affecting organic species. Even synthetic beings found themselves vulnerable to digital viruses that human programmers had been quietly patching for years. On the frontier worlds, the security situation deteriorated rapidly. Marshal Rax of the Border Patrol found himself overwhelmed by conflicts that human peacekeepers had been preventing for generations. 3 mining disputes have escalated to armed conflict this week, he reported to Galactic Security Command. The Miners' Union and the Colonial Authority are preparing for war over territory that they shared peacefully for 15 years. Deploy standard mediation protocols, ordered Security Chief Korn. The protocols don't work without human mediators, Rax replied bitterly. Humans had a gift for finding compromises that satisfied everyone's honor while solving practical problems. They understood cultural sensitivities that our databases don't even recognize. The situation was even worse in the deep space monitoring stations. Operator Trill watched with growing terror as the dark objects detected months earlier continued their relentless approach toward inhabited space. "The entities have consumed for uninhabited systems," she reported to Fleet Command. "Every planet, asteroid, and piece of space debris in their path simply ceases to exist. They're not destroying matter, they're making it disappear." Admiral Corks studied the tactical display with professional detachment. Estimated time until they reach populated systems: 18 months at current speed, Trill replied. "But, according to the fragments I could decode from human military files, they can accelerate exponentially once they begin consuming inhabited worlds. What countermeasures did humans recommend?" "The files are encrypted with quantum security protocols that we can't break," Trill said desperately. "Admiral Harrison's defense plans are locked away, and we don't have the authorization codes." The revelation that humans had been defending the galaxy against cosmic threats while other species celebrated their absence added a new dimension to the growing crisis. Evidence emerged that humanity had been maintaining shield generators, early warning systems, and defensive installations across the galaxy's rim more, hidden from public knowledge to avoid panic. As the 4th month after humanity's disappearance began, the accumulated crises reached a breaking point. Communication networks operated at 20% capacity. Food production had declined to critical levels on dozens of worlds. The Galactic economy teetered on the edge of complete collapse. Disease outbreaks threatened entire species with extinction. Border conflicts escalated toward full-scale wars. Dr. Mirix, whose early warnings had been ignored, published a new research paper titled "The Invisible Foundation: How Humanity Held Civilization Together." This time, beings across the galaxy paid attention. "For 50 years, humans have been the galaxy's maintenance crew," she wrote. "While we celebrated and advanced our individual civilizations, they quietly fixed the problems that would have destroyed us all. They were not our competitors or our inferiors. They were our guardians, and we never noticed." Her analysis revealed the staggering scope of human involvement in galactic civilization. Every critical system had human fingerprints on it. Every major crisis had been prevented by human intervention. Every moment of peace and prosperity had been maintained by human sacrifice that remained invisible to those who benefited from it. But recognition came too late. The damage was accelerating beyond any hope of quick repair. Systems that had taken humans decades to optimize were failing faster than they could be fixed. Knowledge that had resided in human minds was gone forever, leaving only fragments and clues about how to maintain the infrastructure of civilization. Engineer Zara summed up the growing desperation in her final report to Harmony Station. "Command, we're not just losing human technology, we're losing human wisdom." They saw connections that we missed, understood patterns that we ignored, and solved problems that we didn't know existed. They were the glue that held everything together, and without them, we're falling apart. The galaxy had spent 4 months celebrating its freedom from human interference. Now it was beginning to understand that some interference is actually protection, and some noise is actually the sound of someone working to keep you safe. The silence left by humanity's departure was about to become a scream of civilizations in collapse. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, the entities that humans had been holding back were accelerating toward worlds that no longer had guardians to protect them. The golden age of galactic civilization was ending, and its guardians were gone.